फाइनेंशियल्स जो है वो एस्टिमेट करे कि अगर हम कस्टमर को एक्वायर करने के लिए कैक जो है एड्स या कैंपेन रन करे फॉर अ वैल्यू ऑफ ₹1,000, तो ये हमारा कैक हो सकता है। अगर हम एवरेज लोन साइज ₹50,000 का पकड़ के चले और उस पर 20% का रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट लगाए फॉर 6 मंथ्स, तो हम ₹5,000 की वैल्यू जनरेट कर सकते हैं। टेकिंग एन एजम्पशन की डिफॉल्ट रेट 5% का हो, तो वी आर हैविंग अ लॉस ऑफ 2,500 ऑन पर 550,000 ऑफ लोन दैट वी हैव ग्रांटेड। नेट लोन रेवेन्यू भी, नेट जो हमारा प्रॉफिट होगा, ये जो भी हम रेवेन्यू जनरेट करेंगे, इट वुड बी बेस्ड ऑन ई कॉमर्स commissions as well as the loan revenue, which would be 2,500 for loan revenue and 5% on 20,000, which is be 1,000 for e-commerce। तो लाइफ टाइम वैल्यू जो है वो 3,500 की जनरेट होती है। जो कैक और एलटीवी और कैक का रेशियो है वो 3.5 का होगा, which would be I think very good।
Shivansh, so have you done a market research? Can you tell us the existing solutions and what is your USP?
ओके, सो आई हैव डन द मार्केट रिसर्च। करंटली इंडिया या ग्लोबली किसी की भी हम बात करें, वी हैव शॉपिफाई जो कि कहीं ना कहीं ई कॉमर्स इंटीग्रेशन प्रोवाइड करता है, पर वो इस तरीके के लोन या क्रेडिट प्रोवाइड नहीं करता है। एज यू थिंक कि इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग ऑन बोथ साइड्स ऑफ एस्पेक्ट्स, आई थिंक जो अभी भी कोई ग्लोबल कॉम्पिटिटर इस फेज में जो हमारा टाइप मेरे टाइप का प्रोडक्ट है उस टाइप पे अभी कोई है नहीं, एज मच एज आई हैव डन द रिसर्च।
Okay,
देयर आर
Shivansh, let me do this. Have you built anything around this? Collected any data points on the MSME loan like SIDB? How does a SIDB work? How does any of the other pathways work? Other instruments work? Okay, no worries. Listen, what I'm saying is we are building something from the Himachal government. Okay.
यस सर,
We have an
हम
MOU with Himachal government where they're trying to do this for MSMEs, SMEs and women entrepreneurs. Okay. I
यस
would
सर,
recommend जब भी तेरा exam खत्म हो जाए, come and meet me. Let's just sit down. Let's see what you can do around this. Okay. Very
हाँ जी
straight.
सर,
Okay.
थैंक यू
I
सर।
think there is a need in the market. I
यस
don't
सर,
know how will you able to solve it or if you need other mentorship or partners to build it, but sit down across with me and let's just work out what needs to be built around it. I'll also put you in touch with Himachal Industry Ministry.
थैंक यू सर,
If we can build something, well and good. Okay.
थैंक यू सर। आई
Parallelly,
कम टू यू।
you will also join the Stride program, okay? Because I
ओके
think
सर,
that early discovery is very important.
या
How do we really target those customers? Let's
यस
see, we are targeting MSMEs. A lot of them know what to do. Some of them who don't know what to do, why they are there, and how
सर,
do we reach out to them? And even if we reach out to them, how do we really solve a problem for them? And then how do we make money? Okay, these
यस
are the
सर,
four things we'll
थैंक
figure
यू
out.
सर।
Okay, cool. I'm going to move
सर
on to the next person because I want you to come personally.
सर, आई कैन आई शेयर माई स्टोरी हाउ आई डेवलप द प्रोडक्ट इफ यू डोंट माइंड?
Have you built a product?
No, no, like how I got the idea or something. I've built little bit on GitHub as much as I could do as a student, technical wise, but
ठीक
मैं
है.
वो शेयर करना चाह रहा
I
था।
mean, yeah, if you want to share, I think it's a good platform. I'm sure everybody would
Yes,
want
sir.
to hear. So, yeah, over.
So, sir, I come from Sirmaur district, and many people from my village as well, वो काफ़ी कुछ ना कुछ बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना चाहते हैं। एज यू नो कि एजुकेशन कई बार नहीं मिलती है, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से होते हैं लोग, गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स भी कम मिलती है। काफ़ी लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि अपनी बिजनेस खड़ा कर पाए, पर वो जैसे क्रेडिट हो गया या ऑनलाइन जाना हो गया, उसमें स्ट्रगल करते हैं। मैंने अपना पर्सनली जो भी देखा है कि जैसे संडे मार्केट होता है, आप अगर सोलन में हो तो आप जानते हो कि चिल्ड्रन पार्क के अराउंड भी काफ़ी लोग अपना, जैसे गांव के लोग होते हो, अपना प्रोडक्ट बेचते हैं। सो मेरे मन में हमेशा रहता था कि अगर ये प्रोडक्ट बाहर सेल किया जाए तो कितना सब कुछ चीज़ें वो बना सकते हैं। एंड दैट्स हाउ आई गॉट द मोटिवेशन टू वर्क ऑन द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट एंड मेक दिस प्रोडक्ट, एंड दैट्स ओनली आई वांटेड टू शेयर। थैंक यू सर।
Cool, man. We are doing multiple things with self-help groups, like you
Yes, sir.
mentioned, at the university. So come, we'll figure out how your technology can help them.
Sir, can I get your contact details if I want to reach out to you?
One second, I'll just type it down here, man, in the chat. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
Thank you, sir.
That's my phone
Thanks,
number.
Shivansh.
Okay, sir.
So let's move on to next. Manas. Hi, Manas.
Just give me a minute. I'm still like,
Sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me like open all the stuff up.
Shivansh, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Can I leave? No.
If you want to listen to other presentations, you can. Otherwise, it's happy to connect
Okay.
afterwards.
I have an exam, so I.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Manas, so we'll just start in 5 minutes, okay? Okay.
Okay.
Manas, yeah, we can start.
Manas, am I audible?
Yeah. 1 second. So Yeah, I hope I'm audible to you all.
Yeah, Manas, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm
Good
Manas.
morning.
Good morning. I'm Manas Khobrekar. I'm a student of Sholini Online BBA
Okay.
program. I
All right.
enrolled in it in January. So I'll give you a short introduction. So right now I'm 23 years old. I'm sort of a serial entrepreneur. I'm still like this uh the room I am at. It's mostly like a workplace for me. Uh I've tried a lot of pursuits by now, and the startup that I'm about to present you is Clausely. I'll present it. Okay, yeah. So I hope it's visible.
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I think I actually still, I mean, I've almost everything done. This is the website. So this is not your another generic GPT wrapper, but it's actually a tool inside. It's a MS Word sorry, add-in.
Uh, Manas, sorry to interrupt. Can you tell me your problem statement and your target audience?
Yeah, sure. So my mother, she's an advocate. She's not an advocate yet, but she's a lawyer. She has won a few cases, and the thing with her and a lot of other lawyers is that they're still not aware about the implementation of AI, and well, there's still like the actual problem statement is that it took her a lot of redos and uh, redrafting of her case files, like a lot in Supreme Court, in High Court, and Consumer Court, and everywhere else. And the major pain point is that it doesn't get accepted even after like 4 retries. So this is why I've built Clausely AI. It's basically a product for her, but also other expert uh, lawyers or law firms.
Cool. Which city are you based in, Manas?
I'm based in Nagpur right now, in
Okay.
Maharashtra,
Hmm.
and so basically we have a Bombay High Court Nagpur bench here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the problem statement, as you can see, this is I only made this pitch like 10 minutes ago. So normal LLMs like ChatGPT or Copilot, they don't know what type of margins and what type of um, clauses and what type of rules and how it must be actually drafted. And most of the time, the actual lawyers are working inside MS Word. So this is basically an MS Word extension or a add-in. So I'm still in the sort of pre seed stage, sort of ideation stage. Still working on like was actually working on it like uh, 20 minutes ago, and
Cool.
yeah,
What platform are you building this on?
uh, the platform, yeah, as I said, MS Word add-in,
Okay.
Google Docs extension, as well as a Chrome extension. And other than that, there's this strategist uh, feature that it's not just the drafting
Oh, this
tool.
one. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's for it's basically like simulation of how
Got
basically
it.
this the strategist, it's like a simulation of what would happen in a courtroom.
Yeah.
And with this, Clausely is
Okay, has your mom ever used it? Was she
yeah,
able to
yeah.
use it?
I'm constantly just helping her use it as well, and it gets me like live feedback. So when I'm at her place, I tell her to just use that. I can do it, but I have a footage of it. Let it be. But yeah, she has.
So if
I'm
let's
still
just
working on
say,
this. It's
yeah,
not
yeah, fair enough.
the extension and add-in isn't there yet, but the web app or like even Copilot is there. Yeah.
Cool, man.
You were asking me.
So do you think the lawyers are your customers or what?
Yeah, the lawyer themselves are the customers to help them
Okay.
draft better and faster, and actually that generates useful and on ground well drafted um, legal documents.
Cool, fair enough. I'm seeing a lot of these products around based on that. So now I think what we need to do is, because you have one unfair advantage, which is your mother being an advocate, I think we need to show some use cases over the next 3 months, parallelly build what kind of lawyers would benefit. I mean, can we go build this into a more niche legal tool? So it only works, let's say, in civil cases or in PILs, things like that, right? Like if we can, how can it help many people in RTIs, things like that.
Yeah.
Once we are able, I think that's what we need to build, Manas, right now, in terms of a niche sort of a identification. But we will go deeper into this. I would want you to be running the program, learning a lean canvas, doing all of that, because that will also help us understand where we are heading with this product. Okay.
Yeah, so what I had planned for is eventually for Clausley to pivot or evolve into a law firm of its own,
Fair enough.
but also I have this another plan that for the big law firms, I'm
Yeah,
planning
so
to
I'm saying if a lawyer can use it, then we can scale it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I know
yeah,
the
yeah,
law.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are multiple of these tools that are being built in India as we speak. Okay. In the
Mm-hmm.
last year itself, I have seen, and within our university, we have seen 10 people who have done this law for leveraging AI for
That
drafting
basically
and
everyone can basically vibe code this in like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
night.
Yeah, so and in India at least there are 150 200 cases I've seen of building this. So let's build a niche if you really want to build, and let's get some. I mean, finally I need to identify how do we make money out of it, right? So
Yeah,
so we'll go
so
deeper into this. I'm going to give you some exercises
okay.
which will help us navigate if we need to pivot, what we need to pivot to, what do we need to really build first. If we are positioning ourselves as a law firm, can each of the law firms be our partners and clients and just like start running with it? Can we just navigate partners for law firms and help them set structure so that they have a dashboard to see everything that's happening within the organization? So there are multiple of these things that we'll have to navigate over the next 3 months and ship it out quicker. Okay.
Yeah, speed is well everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah. While from see, basic essentially, let me put it out there very yes, straightforward to all of you and Amit and Subrata, all of that. We run an incubator, so speed becomes sometimes a bit of a challenge because I cannot sit with all of you to build this, but I can
yeah.
guide you, I can bring you mentors. So somewhere the speed needs to come from the entrepreneurs, and once your speed will reflect in our ability to help you also. Okay, so if you have picked up the momentum, we will push you through that momentous phase to success, right? If not, then it becomes also difficult for us to keep pushing you to sort of do that. So be conscious of that whenever you're working with an incubator. But we will build a program that will help you go from that journey to do your early market discovery very shortly.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
because at any given time you're working with 30, 40 startups. So there is a bit of a challenge there in terms of resources, but definitely I see that I believe in entrepreneur over the idea. So I think you're cut out to be an entrepreneur, and we will have some more discussions one-on-one to see how can Manas benefit through this network of Shulini Pahal Foundation, and how can we help you sort of navigate and succeed. Yeah, simple as that.
all right. Yeah, sure. I look forward to it. I look forward to utilizing the Foundation Start program.
Yeah. And I
So I,
recommend,
I want to know how the incubation like actually works.
yeah, so we run in, so every incubation either is a ecosystem build program or a program based sort of efforts, right? So we are a program based incubation right now at Pahel, where we are putting every stage of startup in a different cohort. Okay, so we have three cohorts: Stride, Propel, and Podium. Stride is for early stage, which is problem and customer discovery. Propel allows you, after 3 months of Stride, you jump into Propel if you succeed fully through various stages, where you go into GTM and customer discovery deeper, right? Once that's almost a 1 year design program, that will also give you market access, financial, whatever, all of that, funding access, so on and so forth. Once people complete Propel, which is almost 9 months to 1 year, we will move them to Podium, which is completely a investor-led scale sort of a project, right? Incubation program. So how we are running is a programmatic approach. We are building programs for each stage of startup growth. And that's how we would see the journey over the next year. By end of the year, 18 months, it should become a fully self-sustained organization that has got revenue flowing in or has good investors that are able to support strategically, not just from an investment point of view.
Okay.
Yeah, because the idea is that you build something fundamentally strong enough to for it to grow on its own, rather than having to keep pushing the engine all the time. Right? And that's how wealth is created, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna keep building things that nobody's using, then it's a burnout.
Yeah, that's true.
So, so systematic, bro. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
for the pricing model, uh, I've also
Okay.
like
So, when you were asking, I think, in terms of pricing, the first program that we run, Stride has no requirement except that you can use our logo in various SISF, all of that applications. For Propel, there are two models that we are working on, which is a mix of equity and a fee. A virtual incubation as well as physical incubation. Virtual incubation is cheaper, of course. Physical incubation is a little bit more expensive, both in terms of equity as well as the fee. I mean, but it's pretty nominal. I mean, so you might be end up paying only 1,000 or 2,000 rupees a month, or less than 2% equity. Unless I have to put in a lot more effort, then those price points changes. But of course, it's open always to a negotiation, and nobody enforces you to take those programs. We will offer you, we'll give you an offer. You are more than sort of you have your independent decision whether you want to go ahead or not. And all of you will have a choice to ask us the right questions to help you navigate those decisions. So my goal is not to take that money or equity from you, but my goal is for you to succeed, because then only all of these matters, right? Like the equity can't matter unless you don't succeed. So my fundamentals are very clear. I need you to succeed, whatever it needs to be done to make you guys succeed. And there could be a small uptake to that there could be a small fee to that service. That's all. Yeah.
yeah, get it.
Cool. So for the Stride program, which I think you need to run through first because it's still in early stage, idea stage, conceptualizing, there is no fee. There is only a paper that needs to be signed between us, allowing you to use the brand of SPF as well as us to put your logos on the website or on the wall or whatever.
Okay.
Have you registered a company? How many of you, including Subrata, Ayush, I think Amit has registered a company, but none of others have registered a company, right?
No, not yet. I
Amit,
was
if I'm
planning
wrong,
for
please.
LLC, sorry, LLP. or
Let
would
us
be
know
more?
if any one of you is planning to set up a company. Right now, we have engaged a CA and we are helping couple of companies do a bulk deal to, huh? Okay.
Rahul, for me, it's already there. So we already registered in 2024 as a private limited company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Amit, we'll have a separate chat with you because if we are incubating you, we would want to put your DPIT certificate number
Oh,
on the portal or whatever that is, if
yeah.
that's okay. Yeah,
Works.
so Alok will touch base with you and collect the certificates from that.
Okay. Yep, sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Good one, Manas.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks,
Yeah,
Manas.
yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
I think we have Ayush now, right?
यस सर। सर आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
Ari Ayush.
गुड गुड
Ayush, I
आफ्टरनून
will
सर।
present your
Good afternoon.
presentation. You can introduce yourself.
सर मेरा नाम आयुष शुक्ला है, हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं सर?
हाँ, मुझसे तो बात कर सकते हो। आलोक इज फ्रॉम केरला, सो चलो हिंदी में बात कर लो।
थैंक यू सर।
मोस्ट वेलकम। कहाँ से हो तुम?
सर मैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट उन्ना से, हिमाचल से।
अच्छा, और यहाँ पे कहाँ रहते हो? उन्ना में ही रहते हो कि
उन्ना,
सोलन?
उन्ना के ऑनलाइन बीवी है मेरी चल रही शुलोनी से।
और अच्छा, ऑनलाइन।
यस सर।
ओके, ठीक है।
सर
शुलनी आए हो कभी?
नो सर।
अच्छा, ठीक है, ओके।
यस सर, मेरा रोड कवर्स एआई पर ऑटोमेटिक स्पीड कंट्रोल सिस्टम। सर आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
हाँ, आ रही, आ रही।
सर ऑटोमेटिक स्पीड कंट्रोल सिस्टम पर है मेरा ये आइडिया।
प्लीज कंटिन्यू ना, थोड़ा कंटिन्यू करो ना आयुष।
यस यस।
हाँ, ओके।
सर इसमें इंडिया में सबसे बड़ी ये प्रॉब्लम समस्या है वो एक्सीडेंट की है, ओवर स्पीड की वजह से। सर हर साल 1,77,000 लोग इससे मरते ओवर स्पीडिंग की वजह से। 70% लोग लगभग ओवर स्पीड की वजह से मरते हैं। उनकी स्पीड कंट्रोल हैवी, बड़ी स्पीड से में लोग गाड़ी चलाते हैं। जैसे आपको पता है हिमाचल में कितने सारे मोड वगैरह हैं, वहां पर ये सिस्टम काम आएगा इंडिया और पूरे हिमाचल में।
Ayush, you can continue.
यस यस सर। सर इसकी मार्केट इंडिया में लगभग बहुत बड़ी मार्केट है इसकी इंडिया में। ऐसा डिवाइस यूरोपियन कंट्री में भी है, लेकिन वो कैमरा एडास सिस्टम से बना है जो इंडिया में काम लगभग अच्छा नहीं करता। कि इंडिया में धुंध वगैरह पोल्यूशन की वजह से साफ दिखाई नहीं देना, एकदम पशु पक्षी पशु आ जाते हैं सामने सड़क है। इसकी वजह से वो कैमरा अच्छे से काम नहीं करता। जीपीएस में भी इंडिया में ज़्यादातर अच्छा काम नहीं करता है, इसलिए इसमें इंडिया का इसरो का अपना डिवाइस बनाया नेवी का, उसका यूज़ किया है। सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी ऐसे सिस्टम को सपोर्ट करी कि ऐसा सिस्टम इंडिया में स्टार्टअप आइडिया आए। इसकी मार्केट इंडिया में लगभग अभी ऐसा डिवाइस इंडिया में सिर्फ एडिडास सिस्टम ही है जो लगभग महंगी गाड़ियों में लगा है।
Sir.
सो इस तरह से कनेक्शन चल गया है बीच से।
Ayush, you can go.
यस सर, सर कनेक्शन चल गया है बीच से। सर इंडिया ये फिलहाल हिमाचल में टोटल 1 लाख से ज्यादा गाड़ियां वगैरह जिसमें सभी में लगा सकते हैं सिस्टम, रोड कवरेज AI। सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का एक नीति योग है उनके हिसाब से। रोड सेफ्टी 2030 में लगभग 14,000 करोड़ का बजट, तो 14,000 करोड़ का बजट किया है लगभग, कि ऐसे डिवाइस वगैरह आए उस पर इनोवेशन करें। ये इलेक्ट्रिक गाड़ी, पेट्रोल डीजल वाली, CNG सभी में लग सकता है ये डिवाइस है। इंडिया की PLI स्कीम भी है 10,000 करोड़ की, उसमें भी इसका बढ़ावा दिया कि ऐसा कोई डिवाइस और आइडिया आए। यस सर, हो गया है।
आयुष सॉरी यार, थोड़ा कॉल आ गया था। तुम कह रहे हो कि यहाँ पे बहुत सारे एक्सीडेंट्स हो रहे हैं और इसका समाधान क्या दिख रहा है हमें?
सर ऑटोमेटिक स्पीड कंट्रोल सिस्टम है,
इन द कार्स।
कार्स बस।
बट वो तो ऑलरेडी आ रही है ना अब तो, जितने भी बाय मैंडेट। ये देखो, ये थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इसलिए है क्योंकि ये गवर्नमेंट रेगुलेशंस में काम करता है, ठीक है, जो तुम
यस।
बोल रहे हो। अभी सरकार ने ऑलरेडी मैंडेट बना दिया कि जितनी गाड़ियां हैं उसमें 80 किलोमीटर का स्पीड लिमिट ऑलरेडी रहता है। ठीक है, इंडिया में एक्चुअली लोग निकाल देते हैं, वो बात अलग है। इसका एक सिंपल एग्जांपल हमने ये देखा था कि देवर IoT डिवाइसेस कनेक्टेड टू बाइक्स फॉर एग्जांपल।
यस।
ठीक है, तो उसमें बहुत सिंपल सोल्यूशन ये किया था उन लोगों ने कि एक एक्सेलेरोमीटर लगाया था, और वो जो क्या कहते हैं, व्हाट इज दैट थिंग दैट सेल्फ बैलेंसेस, गायरोस्कोप। हाँ, थ्रू गायरो एंड एन एक्सेलेरोमीटर उन्होंने ये फिगर आउट किया कि सडन inertia acts on a certain force, right?
यस सर।
So if it moves beyond that force, which means there is a sudden accident, acceleration, braking, fall down. बंदा अगर स्कूटर पे और स्कूटर का एंगल चेंज हो गया 90 डिग्री, so there is a major chance of accident. Okay, so an IoT device which is plugged into your bike or a car that responds to sudden acceleration, speed breakers, things like that, and sends out an SOS to the local responder. तुम्हें समझ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ कि हिंदी में?
यस यस यस।
हिंदी में बोल सकता हूं मैं, थोड़ी कठिनाई होगी बट चलेगा। तुम बताओ अगर नहीं समझ रहा है तो।
सर आ रहा
तो
समझे।
हाँ, तो इसका सल्यूशन हम रेगुलेटरी के बियॉन्ड जाके अगर सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करें थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी, तो इसमें काफी स्कोप लग रहा है, ऑलरेडी किया हुआ है। ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल बाइक में हमने वो सिंपल सा चिप डाला जो स्पीड मेजर कर रहा है, सब कुछ कर रहा है। द मोमेंट स्पीड ऑफ 40 to 0 happens in less than 1 second, which means there is an accident.
यस।
The moment there is a drastic change of the bike going from 180 feet to 120 feet, मतलब वो बाइक गिर गई है खड्डे में। ठीक है, so there are those kind of simple calculation using altimeter, gyroscope, and accelerometer, that you can build small tools which are microchips that will help you navigate all of this. This can also then be given to taxi services, public road systems. तो अगर तुम कुछ बनाते हो तो हमें नजीम जो हैं, जो ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्रेटरी हैं हिमाचल के, उनको जाके बोलना चाहिए कि सर ये हर गाड़ी में एज अ स्टेट की जितनी भी गाड़ियां उनमें लगवाओ। समझ
यस
रहे
सर।
हो? सो बट हमें कुछ तो थोड़ा बिल्ड करना पड़ेगा। अगेन आई थिंक थोड़ा जल्दी है, यू आर टू अर्ली इन द जर्नी। गुड आइडिया। हाउ वी सॉल्व इट इज समथिंग वी नीड टू वर्क। तुम उन्ना में हो ना? एक और
यस सर।
जैसे हिमाचल में एक टैक्सी सर्विस शुरू हो रही है क्लिकसी करके, CLI XI।
यस सर।
तो क्लिकसी के सब टैक्सीज में ये कैसे डिप्लॉय हो सकता है, कुछ टूल डिप्लॉय हो सकता है कि नहीं? सो इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग फ्रॉम अ रेगुलेटरी पॉइंट, जब हम सरकार को बोलें कि हर गाड़ी में मैंडेट करो, इसमें 5 साल 7 साल लग जाएंगे। समझ रहे हो? तो
यस।
उससे अच्छा हम एक एक्सटर्नल टूल बनाएं, उसका एक कॉस्ट बनाएं, और उसका एक मतलब एक बिजनेस मतलब रेवेन्यू मॉडल बनाएं कि हम सब्सक्रिप्शन लेंगे या वन टाइम कॉस्ट लेंगे, जो भी है। और वो एक डैशबोर्ड जो मालिक को या नियरेस्ट रिस्पॉन्डर को लाइव अपडेट देता रहे।
सर इसमें यही है सिस्टम में।
हाँ, तो
सर
तुमने
ये
कुछ बनाया है अभी तक?
सर मैं ऑनलाइन बीबीए का मैंने कोशिश तो की, बना नहीं अच्छे से वो।
ठीक है, तो वी विल टॉक अबाउट इट, क्योंकि हम लोग भी कुछ टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट यहाँ पे ढूंढ रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं काम, तो हो सकता है कोई और तुम्हारे लिए बनाएगा, बट यू विल वर्क एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर विद अस टू बिल्ड दिस आउट फॉर योरसेल्फ। ठीक है?
यस सर।
ओके, ठीक है।
यस
तो
सर।
आई थिंक यू नीड टू ऑल्सो बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द स्ट्राइड प्रोग्राम, आलोक। हाँ, एंड लेट्स बिल्ड दैट बेसलाइन फर्स्ट कि व्हाट इज द रियल प्रॉब्लम. Once we have zeroed in on that, then I'll see what sort of technology or resources and funding to deploy for this project.
यस सर।
Okay. Thanks, Ayush.
Thank you, Ayush.
थैंक यू सर।
Yeah. Hi, Preeti.
No, then we'll.
Hi, Preeti. Preeti, am I audible?
There was this brand called Tags Food that I really liked. They appeared on the first season of Shark Tank India, had a great pitch, got an offer from Ashneer of 70 lakh rupees for 2.75%. And if you guys have seen this pitch, you remember how good the company was. Anish, the founder and CEO, had over 15 years of experience in offline sales, and I was pretty sure that this will be a successful brand in a few years. But just 3 years later, the company was sold to Reliance for just 28 crore rupees in a fire sale, which means the company was about to go bankrupt before Reliance acquired it for a heavily discounted price. And this made me dig deeper. I read about why Tags failed, and what I realized is that most young snacking brands in India, almost 70 to 80% of them, are struggling to survive. In fact, I spoke to 7 to 8 founders of such brands, and all of them have the same story. All of them are losing money heavily with the hope that once they'll scale and become big, they'll somehow become profitable and sustainable. And so in this video, let's try to understand what are these key reasons why healthy snacking brands are failing in India. What is it about Indian consumers that does not allow these brands to succeed? And what is it about different trade channels that it's almost impossible for any new brand to survive? Let's understand all this in this episode of Backstage with Millionaires. Before we come to why many of these brands are failing, let's first set some context. To begin, this healthy snacking brand in India is very large. According to this report, it's worth around $4.5 billion in 2026 and is growing at roughly 8.1% per year, which is a healthy growth rate. Also, for 72% Indians, health is the main driver of their snacking choice, which is again a very promising number. Another thing is that the entry barrier in the packaged snack business is one of the lowest in India. That means you can easily get started. Today, for example, you can easily find a contract manufacturer, get a FSSAI license, set up a website, do branding, and all of this in less than a month and for just 5, 10, 20 lakh rupees. And finally, the rise of quick commerce has made it very easy for new brands to get listed and start selling in a matter of 1 to 2 weeks. So because of all these reasons, getting started is very easy. Also, all of us have read success stories like Yoga Bar or the Whole Truth Food, and that's why hundreds of such brands have been started in the last few years. Protein bars, healthy cookies, healthy chips, beverages, protein shake, even healthy atta. Basically, founders have taken everything that we consume in our day-to-day life and tried to bring a healthier version of it. And as I said, getting started is extremely easy in this segment. According to Anish of Tags, entry barrier in the snack business is one of the lowest, but scale barriers in the category are one of the highest. And this one statement alone captures most of what's going on in this segment. It's very easy to start an online healthy snack brand, reach a revenue of 30 to 40 lakh rupees per month. But when you try to scale further and try and become profitable, that's when you start facing the real challenges. And let me talk about them one by one. The single biggest problem that these healthy snacking brands face is negative unit economics. They don't make enough margins to sustain themselves after a certain point. And let me explain that with numbers. Let's take a fictional brand called Protein X. They sell these typical healthy protein bars. Now, let's take MRP of one bar as 100 rupees and let's start breaking down expenses. The biggest cost is the cost of goods, which in this case is things like clean protein sources, cocoa, and some other things. And this makes roughly 40 to 50 rupees. Next is packaging. Since most of these brands use premium packaging and design service, that's another 5 to 8 rupees. And this leaves about 45 to 50% gross margins. That's actually true for this entire industry. I studied multiple brands and most of them fall in this range of 40 to 50% in gross margins, at least in the early days. So 50% of your margins gone even before you start selling. And now comes the most difficult part, cracking each sales channel. And here I'll talk about 4 different trade channels that most of the Indian brands use. These are D2C, which means you're selling from your own website. Then there is e-commerce sites like Amazon and Flipkart. Next, quick commerce, so Blinkit, Zepto and Instamart. And finally, modern trade, which is these offline stores in metro cities. And let's talk about them one by one. So firstly, let's talk about e-commerce, where you have platforms like Amazon. Now talk about them Instamart and e-commerce sites like Amazon and Flipkart. Next, quick commerce, so Blinkit, Zepto and Instamart. And finally, modern trade, which is these offline stores in metro cities. And let's talk about them one by one. So firstly, let's talk about e-commerce, where you have platforms like Amazon. Now, I spoke to Ayush, who runs healthy snack brand called Good Goodies and sells items like these baked puffs. And for him, Amazon takes 40 to 45% of his margins once you include commission, fulfillment and transportation cost. Next channel is quick commerce, which is very competitive these days. For example, on Blinkit, 17% of the brands make up to 80% of all the sales. So it's very
Hello, hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, Preeti.
very hard for a new brand to survive. For example, my friend
You can introduce yourself and let's start presenting.
Oh, okay.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
George runs this super tasty snacking brand called Capo. And for him, quick commerce takes more than 50% of his margins. According to him, the standard is 30 to 35%. Then these platforms ask you to run ads and discounts. And as a result,
Hello,
the
sir.
total
Hello.
commission in quick commerce
Preeti,
goes
am I
more
audible?
than 50%. And it is actually net burn for new brands. Then the third trade channel is modern trade, where you have stores like Reliance, DMart, Spencer's. Here again, brands spend more than 30% to list, find a slot and do promotions. For example, someone like Popteen, which made India's first protein popcorn. And for them, 90% of their business comes from offline retail stores. And here, the founder spends 30 to 45% at times of their gross margins. And finally, there is D2C, which means you're selling on your own website. And this is the most expensive trade channel for newer brands. And that's because the
Preeti?
CAC, which is the customer acquisition cost, is
Am I audible?
huge in this category of healthy snacking. According to many sources,
Hello,
the
आवाज आ रही
CAC in
है?
this category
Hello?
can range from
Yes,
800
yes.
to
You can start.
2000
Okay, okay.
rupees, which means unless you have high repeat
So,
rate, you will lose
मुझे
big
camera on
money
करना
on
होगा?
every order. So as you can see, these trade channels take 30, 40
it's
or
fine
even
actually. You can,
50%
share
of your
your
margins
presentation.
in some cases, even before you make a
Okay,
sale. So on a 100 rupees protein bar, 50 has gone in cogs,
Where is your official partner?
मेरी स्क्रीन विजिबल है?
Yes.
तो लेट्स स्टार्ट करते हैं। हेलो सर, माय नेम इज़ प्रीति। मैंने अभी शॉलिनो में फर्स्ट ईयर सेमेस्टर में एडमिशन लिया है और मेरा डोमेन है फाइनेंस और मार्केटिंग। तो मेरा जो मैंने सबमिट करा था उसमें ये था कि जो बिज़नेस ओनर को किस किस चीज़ों से दिक्कतें आती हैं, तो हम उसको कैसे फुलफ़िल या उसको एक आसान तरीके से हम कैसे कर सकते हैं। तो फिर लिंक्स में मैंने देखा कि इसमें एक कंडीशन था कि इसमें थोड़ा-सा एडटेक बिजनेसेस की तरफ थोड़ा-सा लेके जाना है, तो फिर मैंने थोड़ा-सा उसके अकॉर्डिंग सोचा है। सर मेरी आवाज़ आपको आ रही है? हेलो? हेलो?
हाँ, अभी बेटर आ रही
हेलो?
थी, पहले थोड़ी धीरे आ रही थी। अभी जो आप थोड़ा पास आके माइक के बोल रहे हैं वैसे बोलिएगा तो अच्छा है।
अब आ रही है सर आपको आवाज़?
जी, आ रही है।
तो मैं दोबारा स्टार्ट करूँ?
नहीं, आप कंटिन्यू करिए प्लीज।
अच्छा।
आई हैव हर्ड यू।
तो फिर इसमें मैंने देखा कि जो थोड़ा-सा एडटेक बिज़नेसेस की तरफ लेके जाना है, तो मैंने इसके लिए थोड़ा-सा रिसर्च करी है। तो मैंने अपना जो एक सॉल्यूशन है उसका नाम मैंने रखा है एड कनेक्ट ऑप्स। ये क्या करता है, फिक्स करता है जो आपके जो ओनर्स के जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको फिक्स करता है। तो उनके रियल प्रॉब्लम्स क्या होते हैं, जो बिजनेस ओनर हैं वो सुबह उठते हैं और वो उनको पता नहीं होता है कि जो हमारे स्टूडेंट है वो एक्टिव है कि नहीं, और उनकी जो फ़ीस है वो पेंडिंग है कि नहीं, कितने लोगों की फ़ीस पेंडिंग है, और जो हमारे टीचर हैं वो एब्सेंट है कि नहीं एब्सेंट हैं। तो मतलब कि उनको कुछ पता नहीं होता एक ओनर्स को जो एक एडटेक कंपनी में एक एडटेक बिजनेसेस में काम कर रहे हैं। उनका जो मैनुअल ऑपरेशंस होता है, सारा मैनुअल होता है, अटेंडेंस भी मैनुअल, फ़ीस, एचआर का सिस्टम सब चीज़ मैनुअल होता है, सब चीज़ वो एक्सेल में कर रहे होते हैं। डिस्कनेक्टेड टूल उनको 3 से 4 टूल यूज़ करके अपना सब चीज़ उनको डाटा वगैरह मिलता है, अपडेट मिलता है। और उनमें ज़ीरो विजिबिलिटी होती है, मतलब कि उनको नहीं पता होता कि कहाँ क्या हो रहा है, उनकी
which is
कोचिंग
cost
में
of
कितने
goods.
स्टूडेंट आ रहे
50
हैं, कितने
has
नहीं आ
gone
रहे
in
हैं।
trade channel
तो
commissions. And if you
उसका
include money that you spend on
उसका
ads or marketing,
ये
also
चीज़ें
salary.
मैं मतलब ये चीज़ें क्यों हो रही हैं, तो मैं इसका एक जो रीज़न है वो बताना चाहूँगी। इसमें क्या होता है कि सब एक दूसरे से कनेक्टेड नहीं होते हैं, और उनमें जो डाटा वगैरह एंटर होता है वो भी मैनुअली होता है, और प्रोसेस भी थोड़ा स्टैंडर्ड नहीं होता है, स्टैंडर्डाइज नहीं होता है, और उसमें ऑटोमेशन तो होता ही नहीं है। तो इससे इम्पैक्ट क्या होता है, उनका टाइम वेस्ट होता है, मैनुअल वर्क डेली करना पड़ता है। ह्यूमन एरर्स, जो ह्यूमन एरर्स होते हैं वो डेफिनेटली होगा ही, क्योंकि अगर ये सब चीज़ें नहीं होंगी तो ह्यूमन एरर्स होना ऑब्वियस बात है। तो स्लो डिसीजन ले सकते हैं तुम, अगर अगर बिजनेस ओनर को उनको अपना बिजनेस डेवलप करना है, तो उनका जो डिसीजन है वो बहुत स्लो होगा उनकी, इस वजह से उनकी ग्रोथ भी स्लो होगी, बिजनेस स्केल नहीं कर पाएगा, और ओनर हमेशा स्ट्रेस में रहेगा और कंफ्यूज रहेगा। तो ये मार्केट की अपॉर्चुनिटी क्या है, इसमें 5 लाख से भी ज़्यादा जो कोचिंग है वो एवरी ईयर ये बढ़ रही है। मैं सिर्फ इंडिया की बात कर रही हूँ। इंडिया में 5 लाख से भी ज़्यादा कोचिंग बढ़े जा रही है, और वो हर साल बढ़ती रहेगी। और इसमें 80% जो कोचिंग्स हैं, ये अभी भी मैनुअली ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं अपना पूरा, सब पेपर्स वगैरह में ऐसे ही मैनुअली अपलोड कर रहे हैं। लेकिन और इसका जो मार्केट साइज़ है वो $10 बिलियन से भी ज़्यादा है, और ये मैसिव अपॉर्चुनिटी है। लेकिन अगर हम इसका 100% ना लेकर अगर हम 1% भी लेकर सोचें ना, तो ये 500 करोड़ प्लस एनुअल रिवेन्यू पोटेंशियल इस मार्केट का हो सकता है। तो हमारा सॉल्यूशन क्या होगा, वन कनेक्टेड प्लेटफॉर्म जहाँ पे इन्वेंट्री, एचआर, फाइनेंस, रिपोर्टिंग फॉर जितने भी कोचिंग्स वगैरह हैं उनके लिए ये सारी चीज़ एक प्लेटफॉर्म में रहे। सॉरी, स्मार्ट इन्वेंट्री रहे, जहाँ पे उनके बुक्स ट्रैक हो, डिवाइस ट्रैक हो, मटेरियल सारे सब ट्रैक हो, ऑटो अलर्ट आ जाए जब उनकी जो स्टॉक और इन्वेंट्री लो हो, तो उनके पास ऑटो अलर्ट आ जाए। एक मिनट, सॉरी सर। एचआर ऑटोमेशन हो, डिजिटल अटेंडेंस हो, ऑटो सैलरी कैलकुलेट हो, लीव मैनेजमेंट हो, उनका एचआर का सारा काम ऑटोमेटेड हो, फाइनेंस डैशबोर्ड हो, उनका फ़ी कलेक्शन, उनके एक्सपेंसेस, पेंडिंग पेमेंट वगैरह सब चीज़ उनको एक स्क्रीन पे दिख जाए। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात, उनका जो रिपोर्ट वगैरह है उनको एक ही स्क्रीन पे दिख जाए, उनको बार बार हर एक चीज़ का रिपोर्ट अलग अलग प्लेटफॉर्म में, अलग अलग टूल पे जाके ना देखना पड़े। और ऐसा नहीं है कि हेलो।
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So have you talked with anyone, regarding this issue, any coaching centers? Because I believe there is existing, SAP software which, most generally use.
आपकी
So
आवाज़
have
नहीं
you,
आ रही है सर।
hello?
यस सर, कैन यू रिपीट?
Yeah, so have you talked to anyone, any coaching centers or institutions? Because I think most of them have, a SAP or, a central infrastructure for these.
यस सर, मैंने आप जो बोल रहे हो ये चीज़ आपकी
Huh.
सही है। मैंने जो स्पेसिफिक, मान लो कि बिज़नेस है, एक कंपनी है जो कि कोचिंग वगैरह के लिए काम करती है, तो उनके लिए
ठीक है।
स्पेसिफिक कोई टूल नहीं है। वो उनको ना एक कस्टमाइज़ बनाना पड़ता है, और सेल्स वगैरह ये सब चीज़ें हैं, पर उनका कॉस्ट है ना बहुत ज़्यादा है। आप इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते, बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्ट है। मैंने इनका कॉस्ट भी पूछा है, ये कुछ वन कितना 5 to 10 लाख रुपीज़ लगते हैं उनको एक सॉफ्टवेयर बनाने में अपने अकॉर्डिंग। लेकिन उसके लिए भी एक था, एक क्लास प्लस है, मैंने देखा ये मार्केट में है, पर इसमें सब चीज़ें ना कवर नहीं हो रही हैं। इसमें सिर्फ कवर हो रही है एचआर और अटेंडेंस, ना उसमें फाइनेंस हो रही है, ना उसमें डैशबोर्ड भी बहुत कम है, ना इन्वेंट्री हो रही है। लेकिन जो हमारा एड कनेक्ट ऑप्स जो है वो क्या जीतता है, वो उसमें सब चीज़ है, इन्वेंट्री होगी, एचआर, अटेंडेंस होगा, फाइनेंस होगा, उसमें क्या कहते हैं, सारे डैशबोर्ड्स होंगे। और इसका जो फ़ीस होगा ना वो हम जैसे सास बेसिस पे ही लेंगे, मंथली मंथली ही लेंगे। और ये कुछ स्टैंडर्ड वाइज होगा, अगर आप कम फीचर्स लेते हो तो वो 1000 रुपीज़ का पड़ेगा, अगर आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा लेते हो तो टू
Okay,
थाउजेंड उससे
so
ज़्यादा 3000।
hello. Yeah, so
यस सर, यस यस
pricing
सर।
model will come later. I'm just thinking about the problem statement, and I think, I might be
हम्म।
wrong, but the coaching centers are, most generally very unorganized. So how do you plan to approach that? Hello, hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
you're audible. Yeah.
हेलो
Preeti, I think
सर, आपकी आवाज़ नहीं आ रही। हेलो
you might have some network issues. So we'll do one thing. We'll connect separately on this. Anyway, so we are running a pre-incubation program where we'll be validating your problem statements more deeper. With some frameworks like Lean Canvas, Business Model Canvas, etc. So we'll talk more on this deeper. Separately in the coming week.
ओके सर, व्हेन वी कनेक्ट?
I will let you know, so all these startups, we'll be engaging with them separately. So, we'll let you know the updates.
एक्चुअली सर अभी नेटवर्क क्लियर है, अगर आप अभी कर सकते हैं, अगर हो सकता है तो।
No, so
हेलो।
no, the thing is, we need to go deeper into your problem statement. So I'm
ओके
not
ओके
sure
ओके
whether
सर।
this problem exists right now. I also need to do some research on this. So,
ओके ओके ओके
if there is, a potential in that, we'll connect you to expert mentors related to, edtech or the sectors, which you are trying to cater. Speak to our university folks to see if there is a gap. Yeah, so we'll also, so are you an ODL student?
नो नो।
So you are in the campus.
आई एम टुकिंग एडमिशन इन ऑनलाइन। मैंने ऑनलाइन
Okay.
एडमिशन लिया है।
Okay, no worries. So we'll, also have a talk with the university, folks as well, and we'll try, how to expedite, how solving your problem statement and how to frame the problem in a way that, we can solve the pain point, understand the customers, etc., etc.
ओके ओके सर।
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Preeti.
ओके सर।
And rent, then essentially you're running a negative unit economic. Business. And this is what's happening with most brands in India. In fact, according to this blog, 68% of Indian D2C brands have negative unit economics, which means they're losing money on every order they fulfill.
With a 40% gross margin product, D2C is negative contribution on day zero and will always be negative contribution. D2C only works when you have gross margin of 70+%. For selling D2C for a food brand, you will never be able, you will bleed money.
And now let's talk about a problem that many founders in this category refuse to accept. And that is how small the target market for most of these brands is. See, this healthy snacking category is largely a metro city phenomena. All of the founders that I spoke to, almost 90% of their business comes from the top 9 to 10 cities in India. So there's big five: Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune and Hyderabad, and then maybe Chennai, Kolkata, Jaipur and a couple more. Also, according to many estimates, D2C is roughly 2% of the Indian consumer goods space. And even in that, food and snacking brands are just 1/3 of that. So in a way, if you actually try to find the addressable market for a healthy snack, something like 100 rupees protein bar, that number would be just a couple of million urban households. That's it. And these people are the target market of hundreds of these brands, which is why it looks very saturated. Every single consumer who cares about these clean snacking products has already tried 5 of these brands. So every new brand is just competing for the same wallet. So now, what's the solution? Can we keep saying that Indian market is small for premium brands and that's why most of these brands are going to fail? Well, no. Some of the brands have shown us the solution. the path to success. And let me start by telling you about this guy. Most of you will know him from Shark Tank India Season 1. He is Manas Madhu from Kerala, building Beyond Snack. And in the show, he got a deal from Ashneer and Aman. But what he did next is a big learning for most of us building in this category. See, instead of just going after metro cities, Madhu targeted the tier 2 and tier 3 market. And that too through general trade, the Kirana stores. By 2024, Beyond Snack was present in over 14,000 outlets in all the major states in India. And yes, they do sell on e-commerce and quick commerce, but their core is general trade. Basically, instead of just focusing on building an online brand, Madhu solved for distribution first. He built a supply chain infra, which is now helping him to build his brand. According to him, our mission now is to make Beyond Snack available at an arm's length wherever the consumer is, be it a local store, a supermarket, or an online platform. Distribution is the engine, and that's where we'll put the fuel. And since Beyond Snack has built such a strong presence offline, he's not just dependent on these online platforms for his business. Also, he can now negotiate the commissions on these quick commerce platforms much better than some other young brand. Another brand I want to talk about is Family, built by two IT graduates, Akash Sharma and Abhishek Agarwal. And their core focus is on makhana and products around it. But the real difference with their brand is that they have cracked the supply chain entirely. According to Abhishek, we work with a network of 10,000 farmers across India and manage our own supply chain from sourcing to final packaging. And by controlling our supply chain end to end, we ensure not just quality but also the right quantity at the right time. Also, they control their gross margins by controlling the supply chain, and this helps the brand in unit economics. In FY25, Family did 396 crore in revenue, and they now plan to reach 1,000 crores by the end of 2027. So, as you can see, for both of these brands, they have understood and worked on controlling the entire journey of their products, right from sourcing to manufacturing and diversifying trade channels. And this allows them to save margins on every step of the journey. Also, if you guys remember our case study of Minimalist, this is the same reason why Minimalist won in the beauty segment. Right from product formulation to manufacturing to hiring scientists, they did everything in-house. And that's how they built a profitable large company. Now, in the end of this video, I want to talk about the single most talked about story in this domain, and that is Yoga Bar. And the reason Yoga Bar is talked about so much is because ITC paid 500 crore rupees to buy the brand. And it was one of the earliest and largest success in this domain. Now, one of the things people missed in this deal is why Suhasini sold the company to ITC. It's not because she wanted to retire or she was satisfied with the scale of it. It's because she knew that she can't scale further without the help of someone like ITC. As long as Yoga Bar was selling online, they were bleeding money. But the good thing for them was that Suhasini had built a very unique brand, something that customers in metro cities at least recognized as a healthy brand. But to become a profitable large business, Suhasini needed to go offline, and she realized that someone like ITC can really do that.
Because it's expensive. You have to have a lot of, the way offline distribution works is you either have to take a call to invest 40-50 crores, create your entire route plan and feet on street and, mark everybody. And then you don't do 5,000 stores, then you do 40,000 stores. Correct. To recover that cost, you need 40,000 stores. But was Yoga Bar as a brand, as a category there? It takes a lot of humility to accept that, listen, I might think I'm really great, but let's be honest, it's more likely that these 6,000 stores, the consumers going there will know me. That was the right call for the business.
And that's a big lesson. You can't build an online-only food brand in India. Yes, online can give you a scale of 50 to 60 crores, but beyond that, you have to go offline. And even in that 50 to 60 crore, it's very hard to become profitable because of all the unit economics challenges we spoke about in the beginning. So, to sum up this video, the healthy snacking segment is growing in India, and there will be many big brands that will be built over the next few years. But the current model that many startups are chasing is not sustainable. Firstly, you need to have healthy gross margins, easily 50% or more. Then you need to control as much of your supply chain as you can, right from sourcing to formulation to packaging and then finally selling. Because if you don't control the supply chain, you are going to lose margins on every step. Second, you need to build for the long term. Can you vision building this brand for 10 to 15 years, or do you just want to make a quick buck in 2 to 3 years? See, the brands that will survive in this domain will look unsexy. They will have factories in remote areas. They'll have distributors in every corner of the country. They will need to reach to thousands of general trade stores in the country. Also, they will grow at 30 to 50% a year, not 200 or 300%. Basically, if you want to build a successful healthy snacking brand in India, it's less about the product and more about the distribution, supply chain management management, and understanding different trade channels. Because there's a reason why brands like ITC and Haldiram are still winning in the FMCG market. Let me know what you guys think. How can new brands survive in this extremely tough segment? Share it in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
David Silver spent over a decade at Google DeepMind, leading the team responsible for some of the most impressive AI systems ever built, most prominently AlphaGo, which was the first AI ever to beat a world champion at the game Go. Then, as the AI boom started, he watched the field he helped define get overtaken by a completely different approach. Large language models took over, training them on all the human data and context we could give it, and billions of dollars started flowing towards scaling that paradigm as far as it could go. He continued his work at Google DeepMind until one day he quit and decided to start his own company. A company that is going against how every single AI lab is building their AI. That company is called Ineffable Intelligence. It's 5 months old, has no product and no revenue. But just last week, it raised $1.1 billion from Sequoia, Lightspeed, Nvidia, Google, and the UK government at a $5.1 billion valuation. So what exactly is he saying? And why does he think the approach that every major AI lab is currently betting on is fundamentally limited? Silver has been in the AI space for over a decade, and he has a very technical yet philosophical argument for this. And to understand it, you need to understand how the AI systems you use every day actually work. Large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini are trained on enormous amounts of human-generated data. Books, code, websites, scientific papers, basically the accumulated written output of human civilization. The model learns patterns from all the text, and through that process, it becomes capable of reasoning, writing, coding, and answering questions at a level that mimics the smartest people on Earth. But here's the argument Silver is making. When an LLM learns from human data, there's a hard ceiling on what it can ever know. It can synthesize information, find connections across domains, and extend ideas in novel directions, but it can't discover something that exists completely outside the space of what humans have already thought. Everything it knows is ultimately derived from us. It's learning from our knowledge and
afternoon, sir. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Afternoon, sir.
हेलो.
हाँ हेलो, आवाज आ रही क्या?
हाँ, आवाज आ रहा है.
हाँ सर, मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन ये था.
आप आपका पिच डेक प्रेजेंटेशन है क्या? आप स्क्रीन शेयर कर सकते हैं.
अच्छा, मैंने कोई अच्छा पीपीटी नहीं बनाया, बस मैंने सिर्फ लिखा हुआ है एक पेज पे.
हाँ, ठीक है. हाँ,
मैं शेयर करता हूँ, ठीक है?
हेलो
स्क्रीन शेयर
आप
नहीं होगा सर?
आप बोल सकते हो कि आपका प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट क्या है?
मेरा बैंक को लेके था कि जो मेरे सर्कल में जो है ना, एक भी प्राइवेट बैंक नहीं है.
ठीक है.
तो उसके लिए मैंने एक रखा है कि जो गांव को जो जो समस्याएं होती है उस सब को लेके.
ठीक है, आप बता सकते हैं कि क्यों वो प्राइवेट बैंक्स नहीं है विलेजेस पे?
इसका जानकारी मुझे नहीं है, इसी के लिए मैंने ये मैराथन में यही चीज रखा. गवर्नमेंट बैंक है, 1 2 3 4 बैंक है गवर्नमेंट बैंक, लेकिन प्राइवेट एक भी नहीं है. जबकि बड़ा जगह है, छोटा जगह होता तो छोड़ देते हैं हम. बड़ा जगह है, एक सिटी बोल सकते हैं हम, छोटा सिटी. हेलो.
हाँ.
जिसमें गांव को कभी लिंक रहता है, कभी उसका लंच टाइम
नहीं
होता है,
मनोज जी,
कभी.
मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछता हूँ. मेरा नाम राहुल है. ठीक
हाँ.
है. आपको क्यों लगता है ऐसा सिस्टम है कि गांव
is
में कोई
bounded
प्राइवेट
by
बैंक
our
नहीं है? और दूसरा सवाल मैं इसके फॉलोअप में पूछूंगा. दो चीज जिससे हमको जवाब मिलेगा कि पहला, कॉस्ट ऑफ ऑपरेशन ऑफ अ बैंक ब्रांच पर ब्रांच कितना है? ठीक है.
हाँ.
कॉस्ट ऑफ ऑपरेशन, कुछ तो खर्चा आता होगा कुछ चलाने में,
हाँ
ठीक है। और उसके लिए मिनिमम कितने अकाउंट होल्डर्स और क्या क्वांटम ऑफ अकाउंट ट्रांसफर्स चाहिए टू ऑपरेट दैट बैंक अकाउंट। दिस विल गिव यू एन आंसर कि क्यों गांव में बैंक प्राइवेट बैंक्स नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट पीएसयूज ही नहीं है, प्राइवेट बैंक तो दूर की बात
नहीं सर, गवर्नमेंट
है।
बैंक है, 4 बैंक है गवर्नमेंट का।
अच्छा, तो क्यों, हाँ, तो क्यों नहीं काम कर रहा है, क्या हो गया? वो लोग काम नहीं कर रहे हैं क्योंकि उनके पास अकाउंट्स ही नहीं है।
सर अकाउंट्स भर के है, जाएगा कहाँ? आदमी सेविंग तो करेगा ही। हर दिन बैंक में से जाओ तो लाइन लगा रहता है, कभी लिंक फेल, कभी अब ये जो मतलब जो मेजर दिक्कत है सबको कि मेरा बैंक कभी अपडेट ही नहीं रहता है, हर वक्त जाओ तो लिंक फेल। और उसका तो दिमाग अक्कड़ पे चढ़ा रहता है। मेरा घर में खुद का एक बैंक है, कोऑपरेटिव बैंक।
हाँ
मेरा खुद का बैठाया हुआ है, मेरा खुद का जो मतलब घर में ही लोकल बाजार पे।
ठीक है।
तो मैं उससे चाहता हूँ, वहां पे भी भीड़ लगा रहता है, कभी लिंक फेल, कभी लंच टाइम, कभी मतलब
नहीं, जो आपका
नाटक।
खुद का बैंक है तो लिंक विंक की क्या जरूरत है फिर?
नहीं तो सर वो तो गवर्नमेंट का है ना, मैंने बैठाया है, मेरा जगह दिया है।
मतलब तुमने
वो तो और
फ्रेंचाइज
दे,
दिया है या जगह दिया है? हाँ,
मैंने रूम दिया उनको।
ठीक है।
तो सर उनका तो वही नाटक हो रहा है हर दिन, किसानों के लिए जो चीज अवेलेबल है नहीं मिल रहा है, कभी आ रहे
नहीं
हैं
तो
उनको घूम के जाना
देखिए,
पड़
मैं
रहा है।
समझ रहा हूँ आपका पॉइंट। यहाँ प्रॉब्लम कुछ और है, ठीक है। प्राइवेट बैंक तभी सेटअप करेगा जब उनको उनसे पैसा निकलेगा। गवर्नमेंट
एकदम
बैंक
सर।
इसलिए सेटअप करता है बिकॉज उनका मैंडेट है लोगों की मदद करना, ठीक है। और वो मैंडेट के चक्कर में उनकी एफिशिएंसी कम होती है। तो आई थिंक प्रॉब्लम कहीं और है। इट्स नॉट जस्ट अ वेरी सिंपल प्रॉब्लम कि प्राइवेट बैंक डाल देंगे तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगा। इतना आसान नहीं होगा ये करना।
About an hour
तो हमें थोड़ा
ago,
प्रॉब्लम
a
स्टेटमेंट,
company
अगर आपको इसको
posted
सॉल्व
their
करना ही
new
है तो थोड़ा
model,
प्रॉब्लम
and
स्टेटमेंट थोड़ा
this
डीपर
model
समझना
boasts
पड़ेगा।
a 12 million
जी
Solution is
सर।
open
not
context
to bring
window.
a
So let's
private
be
bank. And how do you intend bringing the private bank? What authority or a network do you have to bring a private bank there? अगर आपके पास जगह है ऑलरेडी तो आप एचडीएफसी को बोलो कि मैं दे देता हूँ आपको फ्री में या सस्ते में।
सर जो चीज मतलब आम जनता को जो चाहिए, हम उस तरफ से देख रहे हैं कि आम जनता जब आ रहा है उसको टाइम पे पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है, लोन के लिए
खुद का
भटकते
पैसा
रह
कि
रहा
लोन वाला पैसा?
है। सब चीज सर, सब चीज। खुद का पैसा भी टाइम पे नहीं मिल रहा है, तो सब बैंक का क्या करना है?
नहीं तो आप क्या करोगे?
गवर्नमेंट।
आपको क्या लगता है आप एचडीएफसी बैंक को जाके ये बताओगे तो वो लोग क्या करेंगे?
नहीं सर वो तो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, लेकिन सर कुछ तो लाइन अप होगा ना
नहीं ठीक
जिससे
है,
ये
तो सुनो,
प्रॉब्लम खत्म कर
देखो,
सके।
ठीक है, मैं तुम्हारा पैशन और इंथुजियाज्म समझ रहा हूँ। एक काम करो, पहले तो मैंने तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट समझा था, इसको हमें थोड़ा शार्प करना पड़ेगा। इतना आसान नहीं है जो तुम बोल रहे हो। प्रॉब्लम किसके लिए है और कौन है जो वो पैसा देगा इसके लिए, ये तुम लिखना शुरू करो। ठीक है, किसका प्रॉब्लम है? ठीक है, ये वापस लिखो और अगले हफ्ते हम लोग वापस एक मीट करेंगे जिसमें तुम और मैं हम लोग ये डिस्कस करेंगे और विल गो डीपर। उसके बाद मुझे लगता है तुम्हें स्ट्राइड प्रोग्राम ज्वाइन करना चाहिए। उसके बिना तो नहीं होगा, ये कुछ नहीं होगा, आगे नहीं बढ़ेगी गाड़ी।
ओके सर, इसके लिए मैं एक बढ़िया से एक पीपीटी बना के तैयार करता हूँ, उसमें सब पूरा
पीपीटी से
क्लियर कर
ज्यादा बस
देता हूँ।
वो आर्टिकुलेट स्टेटमेंट लिखना शुरू कर दो, बाकी पीपीटी वगैरह बनता रहेगा, उसमें कोई टेंशन नहीं है। पीपीटी बनाना
ठीक है सर,
आसान
मैं
काम है,
दोनों
स्टोरी बनाना,
दोनों
स्टोरी समझना ज्यादा मुश्किल काम है।
ठीक है
ठीक है।
सर। और सर आपने जो जो इसका क्वेश्चन पूछा
हाँ
वो भी मैं सॉल्व करके सर करता हूँ,
हाँ,
क्योंकि
वो
आपने जो
आंसर
बोला ना।
लिखो पहले, उससे हमें काफी आइडिया लग जाएगा कि एक ऑपरेशन बैंक का ऑपरेशन जो तुम्हारा है उसका पर मंथ कॉस्ट कितना आता है, लोग, एनर्जी, बिजली, रेंट सब मिला के, ठीक है। तो फिर हम
ठीक।
डिसाइड करते हैं क्या हो रहा है।
हाँ और सर दूसरा कि कितने अकाउंट होल्डर्स हैं।
कितने अकाउंट होल्डर्स अप्रोक्सीमेट हैं, क्या क्वांटम ऑफ पैसा हर महीने डिपॉजिट होता है, तो उससे भी हमें काफी कुछ आइडिया लगेगा।
जी सर।
ओके, थैंक यू
थैंक
मनोज। ओके।
यू जी। सर निकल जाए।
Thanks everyone. So we'll connect, in the coming week, to discuss regarding the next steps.
जी सर।
Okay.
Yeah.
थैंक यू।
Sir, sir,
Thank
do
you.
you have time?
Thanks.
Hello. Hello.
like 52 times more efficient than any model out there, and of course, no quality loss. Naturally, this should be very big news. However, I can't help but be extremely skeptical because there's basically no information about this model other than the claims by the company. And if this is true, then this could be extremely important for not only cloud models, but especially local models. And so the founder of a company called Subquadratic is announcing a model called SubQ, which is claiming this 52 times faster improvement at 1 million context tokens than Flash Attention, and also, obviously, it'll be cheaper than the cost of Opus, which frankly isn't hard to do. But the kind of secret sauce that's being talked about here is training a new model in such a way that it is subquadratic, using sparse attention architecture. Now, sparse attention is not a new concept, but it is a tricky concept, and that's why we don't see, I think, really any models, cloud or local, actually doing sparse attention because it's very hard to get a smart model with sparse attention. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Timothy Karambat. I'm the founder and creator of Anything LLM, where we prioritize giving you an awesome experience using small on-device models that feel like a cloud experience. If you use tools like Claude Cowork or anything like that, then you would be interested in this because, well, you really can't beat the cost of a free token. On this channel, I really like to talk about local models, new local models, improvements with local models, because frankly, I believe that local models are kind of the future that'll be doing the grunt work of your daily inference tasks. But every now and then, I talk about cloud models because sometimes new things drop in cloud. But every local models are kind of the future that'll be doing the grunt work of the channel. I really like to talk about local models, new local models, improvements with local models, because frankly, I believe that local models are kind of the future that'll be doing the grunt work of your daily inference tasks. But every now and then, I talk about cloud models because sometimes new things drop in cloud models that will eventually find their way into local models. And today is actually that. And so the whole claim for Subquadratic is that they have a 12 million token reasoning window. 12 million tokens without any accuracy or quality loss. Now, this would be the largest token context window basically anywhere, and also it would obviously be extremely smart if you could do this. I mean, 12 million tokens is easily crunching a month worth of task. It is crunching many, many books and documents. It is crunching entire multiple code bases. So having access to this or having the ability to do this would be great, provided it is accurate. But for those of you who aren't familiar with attention or the attention mechanisms, this is a brief crash course. Don't expect to be a PhD when you walk out of this. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page or have at least a ground floor understanding of attention and how it works. So if we were to talk about regular attention, just like we can call it dense attention, this is essentially the smartest but also slowest form of attention, where you can see that we have a short sentence like the capital of France is what? Well, this question mark area is going to actually be determined by the model looking at every single word prior. Now, this takes a ton of compute. This also doesn't scale very well. And so you get problems with this because obviously this is a very short sentence. So you're going to get a really good answer because it is considering every single token that has come before it. However, imagine you have a novel or just a really long kind of sentence or prompt or something like that. And you can see these little 3 dots just truncating however much text there might be. But when we get to the last paragraph and we want to predict this next token, we have to then look back at every single word that had ever been output. Now, obviously I'm talking about text models here, but the idea of attention works like this, where we're considering every single word from this paragraph, this one, and this one. Basically, anything that has been predicted will weigh in on whatever it is that this token is supposed to be. So you can see when you get to longer and longer form text, you get worse compute problems. So that whole quadratic problem brings us to Flash Attention, which is not solving the quadratic problem at all. It is simply reducing the scope of tokens that do have an impact on this next token. So here we're on the last paragraph. So maybe instead of looking at every single word that has been produced prior, we can actually just look at maybe the paragraph that it's currently in. I'm grossly simplifying the mechanism here. I'm just trying to give a conceptual idea as to why Flash Attention is beneficial in compute versus just regular attention. So we basically just reduced the scope of tokens that we are actively looking at that determine the next word. So this obviously helps with compute. And this flash attention mechanism also becomes very useful as you deal with longer and long form tasks. That makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, there's a trade-off. You could get worse answers. You could get maybe loss of the middle context to where other information present in the context window isn't necessarily factored into very heavily in the output. So you may lose accuracy doing this, but in general, this tends to work pretty well. So this brings us to sparse attention, which takes the idea of something like flash attention by limiting the scope, but instead of just limiting the scope to whatever is around it, we're actually limiting it to specific words anywhere in the context that might be related to this word semantically. So for example, I only showed it looking at words in this paragraph, but this word could very well, or this paragraph could be very relevant to context that was in the first paragraph. These tokens here that could be predicted are still actually factored in from words that could be anywhere else in the context. I just didn't draw arrows, but you can see how the idea of this is more powerful. The idea is that now you are pre-selecting tokens that should help produce a better answer because they are all similarly related. Now, obviously, that was a dramatic oversimplification of attention and flash attention and sparse attention, but that's also not the focus of this channel. If you do want to learn more and really get into the nuance, I'll be linking a video from 3 Blue 1 Brown that actually gets into this. Really incredible if you're interested in kind of transformers and the kind of attention mechanism that exists. So when I saw this, I immediately had to go to this website because 12 million tokens of context would be insane. I would love to take the Anything LLM repo, feed it this entire thing, and ask it about some kind of maybe esoteric question about the repo. And it is saying that there's a speed of 150 tokens a second. Keep in mind, this is their model. I also have no idea what compute they're running on, and 150 is honestly pretty good. The idea is the attention mechanism here, not like the speeds. They're not trying to build Cerberus or Grok with like 1,000 TPS. The idea is that we get a really smart model that runs at basically nothing in both cost and memory compared to other models, which that's what they say. It's about 1/5 of the cost of leading models. Cost kind of floats around, depends on the model, so I'm not exactly sure about this claim. And they did provide some kind of like guidelines for like how much is 12 million, because a million's already a lot. So 12 million is basically infinite. And obviously a million is already a lot. I actually struggle to fill a million most times. So 12 million might as well be infinite. And you can see that actually they provide some examples here where like the entire standard library for Python 3.13 is about 5 million tokens, which makes sense. And then 6 months of React code-based PRs, which is like 1,000 PRs, is 7 million. So struggling to fill 12 million is going to be basically, it'll feel like it's infinite. But again, the main thing is, okay, we have 1 million tokens. 1 million tokens isn't crazy anymore, especially for cloud models. How does it lose the middle, or does it lose the middle at 12 million, this much, much higher number? I'd say that there is a much harder problem to be solved at 12 million than there is at 1 million, than there is at 500K. And the thing that bothers me the most about this is everywhere you look for information, there's no technical report. So why release this and talk about this when you can't even review this? I did request early access, so I'm going to see if I get access to this, and I'm going to put some of these claims to the test. And they did publish some benchmarks. So for example, on SweBench Verified, we're up against Gemini, Opus 4.6, and Opus 4.7. And this sub-Q model is getting 81.8. So this is indeed frontier agentic coding results. Now, 0.8. So this is indeed frontier agentic coding results. Now, there's not a lot of clarity on how many runs this was or anything like that, but it is on SweBench Verified, that much we do know, and they got an 81.8, however they got that. And then there's also the MRCR v2, which is specifically for long context retrieval at 1 million tokens, because trying to benchmark against these other models at 12 million is impossible because they can't do that many tokens. Essentially, we see a 62%, which means that at least up into 1 million tokens, this model should have very good long context retrieval. And then there is also this ruler at 128K, which is basically a fraction of a fraction of what this model can claim to do. And of course, it says they get a 95%. Now, you would expect that. And it's a little bit weird what their website says versus what's published in the video. For example, on the website, you can see that they bench on Gemini 3.1, Opus 4.6, Opus 4.7, GPT 5.4, and 5.5. But the model that they're boasting about right here is the sub-Q 1 million preview. So not even the 12 million model. Now, the idea is testing the sparse attention mechanism. And I guess to limit this to where it is a fair comparison, they are doing it on the 1 million context. But in my opinion, if you have a 1 million context and you're benching it against other 1 millions, and this whole sparse attention thing is supposed to be the highest performing value because it's supposed to be able to do 12. So if it can't score well on 1, what's the hope it scores well on 12? Either way, they did the SWE bench verified, which does involve lots of context. Ingesting a whole repo is maybe their approach. And you can see that Opus 4.7 is actually the highest scoring value on this, and the 1 million preview is doing 81.8. Still very much frontier level kind of scoring here, but it is on SWE bench verified, so who knows? And the reason we have to look at benchmarks is because we can't even use this. So next we have the ruler context, which is long context, basically needle in the haystack retrieval for 128,000 token context. This is nothing of the million context window. So you would expect this to have good performance. And you see even Opus 4.6, which they internally evaluated, got a 94.8, and their 1 million model gets a 95. So the one thing we can derive from this is that at least at 1 million tokens, this thing performs similarly with a fraction of its context window used, which we would hope so. So naturally, we want to test a larger window. Now, we can't test 12 million because none of the other comparable tokens have any benchmarks to compare against. The fact that there is no 12 million token just benchmark scores in general is very odd to me. So naturally we want to go to the million context window just so at least we can look at comparables, since apparently that is what we are comparing against. And you can see out of this entire kind of run, Opus 4.6 is actually scoring the best. And then second to that is GPT 5.5. And then we're getting 65.9% on the 1 million preview. And of course, we aren't getting a technical report for this, but the weird delta is actually in the video. So in the video for this same test, they omitted the higher scoring Opus 4.6 and also 5.8. So of course, we aren't getting a technical report for this, but the weird delta is actually in the video. So in the video for this same test, weird delta is actually in the video. It's the higher scoring Opus 4 test. They omitted the higher scoring Opus 4.6 and also 5.5, and then say that the sub-Q, which is not disclosed as if this is the 12 or the 1 million, got a 62, but then on the website shows that it got a 65.9. So which is it? In the video, the SWE bench verified kind of screen shows that the original scores from the table that's on that website, which does have me thinking that the model shown in that previous slide is actually the same model here, which is that 1 million context preview token, which means that the benchmarks that we're looking at, which, you know, are decent, sure, especially using a new attention mechanism, are not the 12 million token reasoning model that I think is being talked about here, because all we did was bench it on 1 million. So I actually went and applied for the early access for their API just to see if I can actually use this. And if the early access to this is just 1 million context token model that is just using this new attention mechanism, frankly, I don't think that's very interesting. I would like to see the 12 million token one, since that is the claim. So time will tell, especially if this sparse attention mechanism is really good, and also if it's even worth pursuing, because does it meaningfully unlock larger token windows? It would be great to have 1 million context tokens using sparse attention that gives you really good outputs on local devices. And that, frankly, is reasonable. I've always thought that local million context tokens was far away, but it seems like every model release, that's getting more and more tangible. It was only but last week that DeepSeek V4 came out with this hybrid attention mechanism that's using 2 different methodologies that basically yield being able to use 1 million context tokens with much less memory. So there is a lot of improvement in this space going on, and even as the models are, I guess you could say, converging or plateauing in intelligence, there's so many more kind of software stones to be turned to just optimize what we already do. And that's generally exciting and also going to come to the benefit of everybody. If you use cloud models, it'll get cheaper. Hopefully demand for all of these resources will drop, making compute more affordable, but then also the compute you already have being able to be leveraged for bigger models so you can have a better on-device experience. Either way, I applied. When I get access, if I get access, I'm going to see what this is all about. And of course, I'll make a video about that when I do. I'm still extremely skeptical about this. Just from the benchmarks alone, I kind of feel like the lack of the technical report and the lack of a clarity of benchmarks and using the 1 million context token version of this model as opposed to the 12, and not even using the 12 independently to show how it performs, all of these things don't really bode well. But I'm cautiously optimistic, and I don't want to make any claims that this is snake oil before we actually find out if it is or it isn't. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, and whenever I find something interesting, I'll make a video. Anyway, thanks.
In today's episode, we'll break down 2 important stories. First, we'll talk about Indian IT seeing some clarity in the unknown, and then we'll talk about dollar prices and economic pain. Welcome back to the Daily Brief by Zerodha, where we cut through the noise to help you understand what's actually happening in the most important stories from business and markets. I'm your host Akshara, and today is Friday, 8th May. Coming to the first story. So every quarter, we return to the same questions about Indian IT. And for most of the last year, the answers were some version of unclear. We covered what went wrong in Q1 and a tentative recovery in Q2. Q3 was a more confident showing, but highly uncertain, and not just because of AI. Now, the Q4 answers are getting sharper as some companies are speaking more plainly about what's actually happening to their business. The last quarter also tends to be a reflective moment for management. So, to finally round up the whole year, we'll be looking at the results of Tier 1 Indian IT firms, particularly focusing on TCS, Infosys, HCL Tech, and Tech Mahindra or TechM. Later in another episode, we'll cover the performance of mid-cap IT firms separately. We also recommend listening to our recent podcast on Indian IT with technology investor and veteran IT professional Ameya P to gain richer context on what the results mean. Let's start with the headline numbers. TCS Q4 revenue came in at $7.6 billion or approximately rupees 71,000 crore, topping the total FY26 revenue dollars or approximately. TCS Q4 revenue came in at $7.6 billion or approximately rupees 71,000 crore, topping the total FY26 revenue to $30 billion or rupees 2.67 lakh crore, which is actually 0.5% less than last year. Meanwhile, the full year's operating margin of 25% is the highest TCS has posted in 4 years. Their AI revenue has reached an annualized run rate of $2.3 billion or approximately rupees 20,500 crore. Meanwhile, at Infosys, Q4 revenue grew by 4.1% year-on-year. Their full year revenue is 3.1% higher than last year, and their operating margin has remained close to 21%. Their total contract value for the full year came in at approximately $15 billion or approximately rupees 1.33 lakh crore, with 55% being net new business. HCL Tech's Q4 revenue was up 2.4% year-on-year, amounting to rupees 33,981 crore. Their EBIT stood at 16.5%. Now, sequentially, their performance fell quarter-on-quarter due to clients postponing certain projects. But over the year, there has indeed been progression. Moreover, their advanced AI revenue is up 6.1% from last quarter, standing at $155 million, or approximately rupees 1,430 crore. Tech Mahindra's Q4 revenue grew 2.4% year-on-year to $1.62 billion, or approximately rupees 15,000 crore, rounding their total year revenue to approximately $6.39 billion, or approximately rupees 56,800 crore. Impressively, this was their 10th consecutive quarter of margin expansion, going from 6.4% to 13.8% in just over 2.5 years. Now let's get down to business. In our podcast with Ameya P, we spoke about the impending change in the business model of the industry. In particular, with AI, Indian IT's practice of billing based on headcount will make little sense. Instead, clients will pay IT firms based on the outcomes they achieve. However, that transition is easier said than done for the industry. One reason for this is, how do you define the scope of work with outcome-based pricing when earlier that scope was defined in terms of manpower hours? This quarter, though, we have a far clearer sense of where in that transition Indian IT might be. For instance, the most interesting commercial development came from Tech Mahindra. They've rolled out a service token pricing model, and under that, each contract is broken down into individual sub-processes. For each of those sub-processes, the model specifies exactly what proportion of the work will be done by humans versus digital labor. And as AI capabilities improve, the pricing shifts accordingly with full transparency to the client. In fact, last quarter, Infosys had also explicitly said that they've already begun piloting models that incorporate some amount of outcome-based pricing. However, does that mean a full shift has taken place? Understandably, this is still a phase where IT firms haven't fully figured it out. After all, in a world where AI is developing at breakneck speed, the same productivity outcome that has a certain price tag today wouldn't do so tomorrow. But it is clear that the business model shift has passed the pilot phase and is part of real contracts being won by IT firms. TechM's new hybrid pricing model accounts for a large chunk of their new business, and last quarter, HCL Tech had also attributed a new outcome-based model to a deal win. Of course, pricing affects margins, but the margin story is a little complicated. On one hand, the industry seems to agree that AI is already deflating their business. For one, clients have already begun expecting lower prices for the same productivity gains. And secondly, AI has made the market more competitive, and companies have little choice but to pass productivity benefits to clients in order to win deals. Now, HCL Tech CEO C. Vijay Kumar put numbers to it. It takes them 25 to 30% more effort to earn the same revenue as AI compresses the per unit cost of each project. It's partly why HCL Tech's new deal wins took a hit this quarter. On the other hand, though, most companies are aggressively sticking to margin discipline. Infosys and TechM explicitly said that they walked away from large deals that didn't meet their profit thresholds. And in some AI deals, Infosys has even said that they were able to charge higher prices. Now, one has to wonder, how can Indian IT afford to commit to their high margins while AI looks to flatten the same? So this margin discipline might partly be a response to AI deflation. If AI is taking away your lunch somewhere, you might want to adjust elsewhere. But if AI keeps compressing the economics of every deal, then margin discipline becomes a shrinking perimeter. In last year's IT results story, we briefly touched upon the new revenue lines that have begun to emerge. And this quarter, we have more real instances of what they look like. TCS, for instance, has separated its digital transformation work into three broad categories: enterprise transformation, AI-led modernization, and pure play AI transformation. The first two are extensions of what these companies have always done, with AI tooling layered in. We'll use a similar framework to highlight examples of what each type of work might entail. Now, enterprise transformation is the old digital work that Indian IT is best known for. It's getting companies onto the cloud, modernizing their data pipelines, integrating software like SAP and Salesforce. And with how software itself is being disrupted by LLMs, enterprise transformation is also bound to get faster with AI. Meanwhile, AI-led transformation entails using AI to clean up old technology debt. For instance, this quarter, Infosys highlighted how they helped a client migrate 3 million lines of code written in COBOL to modern microservices using AI models. 60% faster at 60% lower cost, autonomously creates and executes entire shopping baskets. Meanwhile, Infosys implemented AI agents across various sub-functions for the oil giant British Petroleum. In fact, within this category, physical AI for manufacturing clients is generating serious contracts. For instance, HCL Tech deployed its TraceX solution for a US biopharma company to connect physical supply chain processes to AI. Meanwhile, TechChem provided a glimpse of how their integrating services work for Canadian aircraft maker Bombardier. However, besides these three, there's also a fourth, completely new category that's emerging from the AI value chain itself. As LLMs keep on developing, they also help set up infrastructure that spans data centers, cloud platforms like AWS and Azure, and AI labs themselves. And IT firms look to insert themselves in this chain. For instance, Wipro has signed a deal with a global tech major, and they've engaged Wipro to run and improve its frontier AI models, which will involve training, governing, and running domain-specific validation. This is reinforcement learning work where you take the baseline LLMs and fine-tune them for specific purposes using deep domain expertise. In fact, in our podcast, Ameya P had highlighted that Wipro was already doing some subset of this work. HCL Tech, meanwhile, plays even deeper in this value chain. It provides data center design and implementation services to hyperscalers building out AI capacity. And they also help manage GPU workloads once those centers are live. Perhaps they've also leveraged some of their expertise in doing similar work for non-AI data centers in the past. But that's not all. There's a more capital-intensive version of the data center playbook, and that's only being executed by one firm, TCS. So earlier in FY26, to everyone's surprise, the historically asset-light TCS announced that they were building a new AI data center anchored by an agreement with OpenAI for 100 megawatt worth of capacity. In the latest earnings call, they've hinted that some clients have already committed to buying compute from them well before the data center is built. In TCS's own words, it's the foundation of a full spectrum play from infrastructure to intelligence. The same client could purchase an entire bundle from computing power to software engineering services that TCS is known for. Uniquely, it also makes AI labs like OpenAI not just vendors they purchase subscriptions from, but also their customers who could also buy their workload management services. From its earnings call, TCS seems well aware of the unique leg up owning an AI data center could give them. Now let's move on to the geography of the business. So the US remains the largest market for Indian IT, but it's increasingly not the growth market. For one, US discretionary spending has been flat to declining across most of the cohort, and companies are navigating around it rather than waiting for it to recover. But beyond that, tariffs are hurting the budgets of companies based out of the US. However, as we've highlighted in past stories, large cap IT has been deliberately pursuing a strategy of portfolio diversification. In particular, Europe has been rising fast in the revenue mix. For instance, 11 of Infosys' 19 large deals in Q4 came from European clients. TCS won a 5-year UK telecom consolidation deal, its first mega deal of the calendar year in communications. TechChem also recorded a robust 8.9% year-on-year growth in its Europe business. But there is one caveat to this. The decline of the European auto industry has been a drag on this growth. The EV transition and the tariff disruption are choking European auto, and Indian IT is dealing with both at once. Every major company flagged it. Wipro called out auto and industrial as the hardest hit sectors from tariff pressure. Infosys also highlighted headwinds faced by a particular European auto client of theirs. Now, the Middle East has also been coming up as a theme. However, from the latest commentary, it's become one of the biggest risks to the industry. It hits Indian IT through 4 distinct channels: employee safety in West Asia, demand for travel and transportation services, crude price volatility affecting energy clients, and a wait-and-see effect freezing the discretionary IT spend of clients. Naturally, it was the most unexpected crisis for them. At the same time, though, this crisis may have also created some new business for them. For instance, much of the growth of TechM's manufacturing business was driven by aerospace and defense. Those are precisely the sectors that will see spikes in production during geopolitical volatility. The outlook for FY27 is anchored by many questions. How does the transition in how IT contracts are priced go from here? How do companies manage the balance between margins and growth while AI threatens to deflate both old and new businesses? How will TCS's data center bet pay off before the capex drag becomes visible in margins? And how permanent is the de-risking from the US going to be? There are some questions that we haven't even properly addressed in this story. How does Claude's new model, Mythos, change the potential of some of the new AI revenue lines? And how does Anthropic's launch of their own AI services firm change things? And while the hiring picture hasn't changed since last quarter, the anxiety around it only grows larger. All we can say for sure is that we expect the results and announcements to be a lot louder in the future. We listen to a lot of con calls while researching our stories. So we started a newsletter called The Chatter. It's a curated collection of the sharpest management quotas for that week in a neat and readable format published every Friday. The link is in the description. Coming to the second story. The American Federal